Good morning.
Morning.
Match with New York City tomorrow. You said going into this one that, or after the Portland match, every game's gonna have the same intensity. What have your preparations been like, and what are you expecting from New York?
I think the preparations have been good. In just looking at New York City, obviously our first matchup, they were superior, and I know that was a while ago, but they've been pretty consistent in their play and really in their personnel for the last stretch here. So, I guess addition of Nico in the midfield is somebody that's new for our guys to get a better idea of. But technically strong team, playing through pressure, very comfortable with that. I think defensively the organization has been good. They've been tough to break down. Thought they had an excellent game against Nashville. But it's a good challenge for us. We're at home, and we know we need to step up our play and in this stretch run be dominant at home if we want to maintain our position.
Something that stood out to me about New York is their home and away record is really drastic. And you said it, like, you can't look down the table or up the table. Every match is going to be just as important. But is there something different about the way they play home versus the way that you've been able to see or not see that maybe makes that even surprising or understandable?
I don't think they changed too much of their play structurally or with ideas. I imagine they're more comfortable playing at home, as are most teams. And, yeah, we could talk about the dimensions and the optics of it, but they're very good at home, and I think that's common. So I think we could put aside just maybe the specifics of where they play, but they're pretty consistent in their play. Results is the difference.
You mentioned their defense being solid in that first answer. A guy who stood out to me was Justin Hack. He's been stable for them all season. Is there anyone else on that defensive group that you're really identifying as key to what they're able to do?
I think Martins is back in the mix. He's a key piece for them. Parks as well. Those are leaders of their team, been a part of their success for years. So within those absences, some of the faces that we've been preparing for, Hack, I think, is still one of the stronger on the ball, playing under pressure, reading the game. O'Toole and Gray have been the wide guys with Tanisiewicz. I'll probably mess that up really, really bad, but that's kind of been the consistent back four recently. And like I said, the whole group has kind of been the same for a good stretch here, but you try to hone in on who are their key pieces. Morales is still the orchestrator of a lot of what they do, and I think Martinez is one of the best forwards in this league. His movement's outstanding. Defensively, he's relentless with his work, but those two are certainly key pieces. I mentioned Nico. On the other side, Wolf's had a very good year as far as production. So, they can, I think, add, subtract pieces within their group, and not much changes. I think they do a really good job with the recruitment of having like for like and having good depth.
It was obviously a very busy transfer window for this club. With the moves in particular, I guess especially Brenner coming with, what he's done in this league before. Do you think these moves take the team from being one that's kind of being talked about as a contender to one that maybe now should win a trophy?
Well, as far as the player additions, without anything being finalized, what I'll say is we're continuing to look to add, and I think we've done a good job of adding an attacker, a right wing back position with some of those conversations. So until that stuff's finalized, I don't speak about it. But with the additions, without the additions, we feel like we're a strong group. What others think of us and winning things, it doesn't matter. We are confident in the group we have. We're confident in additions that we can potentially add, and trying to finish off the season in a strong way.
How much is, for your role, how much of it is trying to fit in these new players tactically versus also kind of managing the locker room, especially with the departure of a leader like DeAndre?
That's the challenge, I think, of the transfer window for every team. It's just the timing of it and so few games left. That's part of the reason we're talking about a change in the schedule. So you try to navigate it in a way where you get guys up to speed as quickly as possible with information. Using Ender as an example, where you try to layer it in because it's a lot for players coming in, and that's our job to manage new additions, get them up to speed as quickly as possible, help them to feel comfortable and confident performing, and then with the guys that are still here, helping them to understand the situations and why decisions are made, and keep moving forward. We have a strong group, so that's always going to be part of this time of the year and some of the challenges that teams face.
I can ask one more.
Sure.
Since DeAndre has been announced his trade, how much does that impact? I guess, how did you feel about losing a starter at this, and a leader?
Yeah.
He's been a strong leader in the locker room. How did you feel about losing a player like that?
It wasn't something that we wanted. It started with us trying to do right by DeAndre and allowing him to speak to Salt Lake, and that opened the door for them to show their value or his value to them, and we tried to counter with an offer we felt was going to keep him here. And in the end, that was the decision he made, and we respect that and wish him and his family the best. He was outstanding for us. Loved working with him. Like you said, he was a great leader and obviously impactful on the field. So I don't want to say it's part of the business, but those are the challenges that you face sometimes, especially on the human side, and relationships, connections. It's unique for each player for different reasons as far as their teammates, the staff, and we love DeAndre and we wanted to keep him here, and it just didn't work out.
Pat, you were talking about just a little bit now about the information sharing with the transfer window, bringing new guys in and keeping the locker room stable in situations like that. Is there things, lessons, aspects to bringing a player in that you've learned over the last 4 years, but really your coaching career, that make it an easier process, like you've learned to, hey, this works better than this. This is a way we can make this easier for the player and for the team?
Of course, you learn through these experiences. I think in going and acquiring new players, getting in front of them. Obviously, we have the ability to get on Zoom calls more frequently to get a better understanding of these players, their representation, and you try to familiarize yourself with them. And I think that allows you to initiate conversations in a way where, okay, this is what you can expect. This is how the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks look like, as far as until you get here, when you get here. And, for different reasons, you can set up calls to start looking at style of play and ideas that you have because the deal's been done, but you don't have those players in market. That's something that you try to get ahead of. Sometimes it's a very quick transition, and new additions are in market right away, and now it's getting them up to speed face to face. So it's different for each player and the timeline of them joining the team. But like I said, you have to take into account what they're coming from as far as their environment, playing style. How are they going to fit into your group? And so you try to get them as comfortable as possible. Maybe you connect them with a player because that makes sense. So there's been plenty of lessons that we've learned to try to help integrate new pieces, but it's case by case as far as how quick and how good that transition looks on and off the field.
Sorry to bounce around here a little bit, but on DeAndre's departure, and Ender Echenike is a guy who, when he came in, Chris Albright talked about him as a wing back. Mm-hmm. You've used him as a striker, which you, from the very beginning, not wanted to commit to positionally, which is But do you still view him as a player who can step into that spot, and how could he factor into the future with?
We do.
Yeah.
It's just circumstantial with where we're at, where we're maybe thin, and trying things and training to see if it'll translate into guys performing in a game, because you don't want to just throw them out there in ways where they're set up for failure. So Ender's done a great job in his first few weeks. We positioned him in different ways, and he's kind of stood out in positive ways wherever we put him on the field. So those have been his early minutes, but they're not restricted to that position.
Is there any update on Miles?
Yeah, Miles will be unavailable this weekend. Had a little bit of a calf strain, so it was around a 2-weeker. So hopefully that's give or take. Hopefully he's back by next weekend, but we'll just see how we get through the early stages of next week.
How tough is that? You know, you've lost DeAndre. Miles has kind of been playing behind him.
Right.
How difficult is it adjusting to that in such a quick time period?
They're key pieces, but it's no different than what we've experienced for years now. We've lost key pieces at different times for different reasons: injury, international duty, all these things. And we have guys that I think do a good job of preparing themselves, and the coaches do a good job of working with guys to make sure their confidence is there and they're ready. So with the departures of or the departure of DeAndre, and now with Miles picking up an injury, we'll have guys that are ready to go. I think depth-wise, along the back line specifically, we've been pretty good all year as far as being able to rotate guys and have guys ready to play.
Is Luka still out?
Luka's day-to-day. He's trending better, but we'll see how we want to make that decision, leading it into tomorrow. But his was less severe than Miles.
And then Yuya back in the group. The guys were kind of cheering him.
Yeah.
I think it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
What does it mean to have him back? And is he? I mean, it's been a long time. Is he available for minutes?
He's available for minutes. He's like you said, he's been out a long time, and so we have to be smart with, with these early stages of him being back in training. But he also looked really good for the last 3 days, and I think it was just fitness and maybe the heat early in the week, and he's ready for minutes. What that looks like, we'll have to see how the game's playing out, and how we think we can include him if it makes sense to help us go and perform. But it's nice to see him back.
Sorry, more update questions. The other two players you've added to the group that have not arrived yet, Samuel Gidi and Ayub Jabari. Is there any update on when they may be arriving or what their timeline looks like?
Ayub will arrive this weekend, and Samuel still TBD. We don't have certainty with that yet.